Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Trainer Chats from JDog Obedience. My name is Jordan, and today will be the second lesson in a series of videos where I talk about all the things that I would normally address in my puppy kindergarten class, as well as try to answer all of the most common questions that I get while working with puppies. So today's lesson is going to be about food, treats, chews, and toys that you should and should not be giving your dog, especially with young puppies. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is food and what you should and should not be feeding your dogs. On a very basic level, dogs are just like humans. They have certain macronutrients and certain micronutrients that they have to get in their diets in order to maintain healthy function. Now, while every single dog food company in the world that's an established brand must fall within this criteria, just like with humans, there are certain foods that are going to be better for you and worse. So what I'm going to do is give you guys a couple quick tips and tricks about things that you can look for on your dog food bag. That way you can make sure that you're giving your pup a pretty quality food. What I can also do down below, if you drop the name of the store that you shop at most frequently, I can go ahead and take a look and see if there's any dog food brands there that I recommend. That way you don't necessarily have to switch up the store that you're shopping from to get a new dog food, because a lot of stores do have quality dog food brands. You just might not necessarily know what you're looking for. So when you are shopping for your dog food, there's only one thing that I want you to look at, and that is the ingredient list. When you're looking at the ingredient list on your dog food, the only thing I want you to focus on is the first 3 ingredients of your dog of that food, because more than likely it's going to comprise about 85% of the food that your dog is getting. So no matter what, the first ingredient of your dog's food should be some sort of whole protein, whether that be salmon, beef, chicken, lamb, I don't care. It should be some sort of whole protein. Otherwise, you know right off the bat that your dog's food is probably going to be mostly fillers. What I mean by this is if you look at your dog's food and the very first ingredient that you see on there is cornmeal, that means that a very high percentage of your dog's food, probably about 50%, is going to be nothing but cornmeal. Now, if you think about what corn does to the human body, how it's pretty much just all sugar, your body just, takes the shell and pushes it right back out of your body, the exact same thing is going to happen to your dog if you're feeding them a dog food that is very high in cornmeal. Additionally, if you have a dog that's really high energy and you're feeding them a dog food that's 50% sugar, well, that's only going to add to their energy, right? Because that's essentially like giving a kid a sucker and then wondering why they're so hyper. It's the same thing with your puppy. Additionally, if you are feeding them a food with a lot of fillers, one way that you'll be able to tell is by the size of their poop. Puppies who eat foods that have a lot of filler in them are going to have massive poops because their body isn't absorbing as much of the nutrients out of that food. So they're going to have a lot more waste product. Additionally, you're going to run into dogs more times than not that are more likely to eat their own poop or other dogs' poop if they're eating a food that is really high on fillers. Why? Because they're not getting all of the nutrients and stuff like that that they need from their own food, and they're smelling it in other people's waste, so they eat it. That's one of the most common reasons why dogs eat poop. So if you have a dog that's really high energy, taking super big poops or eating poop, I would highly recommend you take a look at your dog food bag and make sure that you're giving them dog food that has more good stuff in it than it does fillers. From there, some supplements that I give my dogs are things like canned salmon, canned mackerel, raw chicken, raw meat of any kind, lots of organ tissue like hearts and livers and stuff like that. I give them eggs, but I give them raw, and I give them the whole egg. I just pop it right in the blender, blend it up, put it on their food like a gravy. Stuff like that. My dogs also eat a ton of vegetables, lots of different fruits. If you're not sure what fruits and vegetables your dog can have, Google it. There's all sorts of stuff out there. I like to supplement my dog's food with whole foods as much as I can, because just like people, the more whole foods that your dog gets into their diet, the less likely it is that they're going to have health problems later on. Knock on wood. I have an almost 4-year-old, almost 9-year-old, and almost 7-year-old dogs who have no major health issues, and I equate a lot of that to the way that I have fed them and taken care of them. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy around raw diets, about grain-free diets, about all these things. And what I'm going to say is it comes down to your individual dog. For example, my dog Hershey, he is a almost 4-year-old chocolate lab. He could eat probably whatever he wants whenever he wants. He doesn't have any issues. He has no major health issues. His skin is pretty healthy, everything like that. However, my dog Coda, who is almost 9, he has and has always struggled with like yeast issues, and it's the most predominant in his ears and his skin. So in addition to, helping him with like some allergy medicine and stuff like that, something that I make sure I do for Coda is keeping his diet very, very low carb. The reason for this is that the more sugar and stuff like that there is in your dog's diet, the more unproportional the yeast balance will get in their body, and the more likely it is that they're going to suffer from recurring yeast infections. So while the grains wouldn't necessarily be detrimental to Hershey, they would be very detrimental to Coda. So that's me saying that you don't necessarily have to feed your dog a grain-free diet for it to be a good food and for it to be a good diet. What you need to do is find a good food that works for your dog and whatever health issues they may or may not be presenting. The next thing I want to cover is for people who supplement your dog's food and they say that they add raw food, but you're cooking everything that you're adding to it. You're not actually supplementing your dog's food with raw food. You're supplementing your dog's food with cooked food, which is exactly the same as if you were to buy pre-made food at the store. So some examples of those sorts of foods would be like Thai Lee's, which I get off of Chewy. The fresh pet stuff that you can find in pretty much any refrigerated aisle of a pet store, and like the Caesar's little ones. All of those have pretty good ingredient list and they're cooked. So if you're somebody who wants to supplement your dog's food, but you cook everything that you supplement them with, you can use those sorts of foods as well, and they're gonna be good for your dog. Now, for those of you that are wondering, Jordan, why would I feed my dog raw meat? I'll tell you why. Dogs have enzymes in their body that are naturally able to break down decaying bacteria and stuff like that. If you think about a dog from a natural standpoint, they are hunters, scavengers. So they're gonna eat, but they're gonna hunt and kill, but they're also, they're gonna eat stuff that they find, as long as it's not too decomposed. But a really hungry dog will eat anything, so keep that in mind. Therefore, their body has created these enzymes that allows them to properly and healthily break down decaying material and stuff like that, so that when they do it, it doesn't make them sick. Therefore, the more you feed your dog raw foods and stuff like that, the more capable they are going to be of breaking down and digesting those foods, and the less likely they are going to be to get sick should they eat something randomly, like at the park or outside or something like that. Another thing that I hear is people talking about chicken and whether or not dogs can have chicken bones. The answer is yes, they can, and no, they can't. It just depends on if the chicken bone has been cooked or not. Prior to cooking a chicken bones are very flexible, they're very bendy, they're very rubbery. Matter of fact, you can give your dog 85% of all of the nutritional needs that it gets just by feeding it raw chicken wings, because that includes the meat, the bone, calcium, the marrow, everything that's in the skin. Chicken, especially raw, is phenomenal for your dogs. My dogs used to eat a quarter of a raw chicken every single day. each one of them. And I promise you, their coats were never healthier. They maintained their weight perfectly. They had perfectly clean teeth. You name it, they were good to go. So if you have like young puppies and stuff like that, feeding them raw chicken is okay. However, once you cook a chicken bone, the molecular structure of the bone changes, and that is what's going to cause it to splinter and shatter and stuff like that inside your dog's body. That's when it becomes dangerous for your puppy. So as long as the chicken bones are uncooked, they are actually extremely good for your dog and your puppy. They're great for teething, they're great for chewing, and they're great for overall health. If it has been cooked, avoid it at all cost. Now, that is going to bring me directly into my next topic of discussion, which is like chew bones that you should be giving your dogs. There are so many different chew bones out there on the market today. It's literally insane. My best and safest advice that I can give to you is that if you are giving your dog chew bones, if it looks like it was cut directly off of an animal and dried out, odds are it's probably safe. You're, like whether it be like a beef knuckle bone or a ham shank or a femur bone or beef pizzles, even stuff like that. If it looks like it was just hacked off the animal, dried out, and put on the shelf, it's probably going to be a good choice for your dog, because that means that their body is going to be capable of breaking down and digesting everything in that like chew. Where you're going to start running into trouble is when you see like the different style rawhides and stuff like that. If you're looking at a package of something and it says hide of any sort, whether, I don't care. If it says hide of any sort and it's a white color, don't give it to your dog, because that's some sort of bleached hide that now has a bunch of other stuff in it that you don't want to give to your dog. Bleached hides, they turn into like a gelatinous paste almost. They can cause a lot of obstructions in your dog, make them very, very sick. Rawhides of really any kind are dangerous. You shouldn't give them to your dog. So again, when you're talking about like bones and chews and stuff like that, the rawer, meatier bones that you can get for your dog, the better off you're going to be, because the less likely that it's going to cause any sort of health issues that you might have to worry about later. Next is different kinds of chews, or not chews, but like treats. I get a lot of questions about treats when it comes to dogs. Very, very simple. If you're working with a dog and you want to teach them something new, or you want a high value treat, use something that they don't normally get, and only use that treat for when you're trying to train a new one, break an old, or reinforce a new one. Okay, so like for me, when I talk about like dog treats and stuff like that, hot dogs are my go-to. I've never met a dog that doesn't like hot dogs. You can buy a pack of 40 of them for $1 at pretty much any store you go to. And then what I do is I just cut them up into bite-sized pieces. They're very high scented, which gets the dog's attention. And yeah, like I said, I've never met a dog that doesn't like treats. If you are unsuccessful in training with your dog, odds are you don't have a high enough value treat, or your dog just isn't motivated by food, which happens frequently. Well, not super frequently, honestly. There's not that many dogs I've met that don't respond to any sort of food, but the higher value your treat is to your dog, the more likely it is that they're going to respond quicker, and the less likely that you're going to have to treat them excessively in order for you to hit that nail home. So whatever treats you're going to use for training, don't use them for anything else. Only use them for training, and make sure that they are extremely high value to the dog. The next thing that I want to talk about is toys. So I hear a lot of people that get really upset with their dogs, obviously for like tearing up their kids' toys, or tearing up pillows or shoes or socks or whatever the case may be. So when it comes to talking about dog toys, I feel like a pretty obvious thing to say is try to make as clear of a distinction between toys that are for your dog and toys that are for your kid. Now, is a kid going to want to play with a stuffed animal that's squeaky and stuff like that? Probably. Is he going to want to play with raw meaty bones that stink like a dead animal? Probably not. So if you don't want your kid playing with your puppy toys, get toys that they wouldn't want, and the same goes for your puppy. If you don't want your puppy playing with your kids' toys, don't buy them toys that look exactly like the same toys that you're giving your kids. I see this all the time where, you know, they'll have like these little stuffed animals and stuff like that, and like this stuffed animal is for the puppy, this stuffed animal is for their kid, and if the puppy mixes it up, the puppy gets reprimanded. That's ridiculous, okay? That's a puppy. He doesn't understand English. You can't sit there and tell him, okay, this stuffed llama is for you, but this stuffed horse is for little Joey over there. No, that's not how it works. Make sure that the differentiation between the toys that you're giving them and the toys that you're giving your kids are different, at least while the puppy is learning about chewing. While your puppy is learning about chewing and what they should and should not be chewing on, there should not be any toys out that resemble household items. So you shouldn't be giving them a bunch of plush, soft toys. You shouldn't be giving them ropes and stuff like that. Maybe like, I would say probably the first 6 months or so of a dog's life, or the first 6 months that they're in your home, only give them toys that are like food based, you know, so lots of bones, lots of chews, stuff like that. That way you can build that association of what is okay and what is not okay. Then you can start introducing more things. If you are one of those people that insists that their puppy has these really soft toys to cuddle with and all this stuff and blah, 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 please make an effort to just keep those toys in their crates or around their bed or stuff like that. That way, again, they're building that association that those toys are for cuddling and stuff like that and not for shredding and chewing. Otherwise, you're going to have a dog that shreds and chews those soft plush toys for the rest of their lives. So again, we're kind of teaching them what we do want them to do and what we don't want them to do. So if you insist that your dog has plush toys, fine. But keep those with its bedding and stuff like that, so it learns that those are not the ones that should be shredded and eaten and stuff like that. And then keep the toys that you want them to like really play with and go hard with separately, so that they know that those toys are for playing and those toys are not for shredding and tearing up. Additionally, if you have a dog that is a really heavy chewer, he shreds and tears apart anything that you give him, I would not recommend giving them any sort of plush item like that, anything with ropes, anything with like hard plastic that they could chew off and splinter. All of those things can become very, very dangerous for your dog very fast, especially if they shred and chew stuff. That those little strands and fibers and stuff like that, as they make their way down their digestive tract, can actually get knotted up in there and tie knots in their digestive system. So be very cautious about the toys that you're giving to your dogs, and make sure that they're toys that you can leave them with unmonitored as well. Another thing that I always recommend to people, especially people who have like energetic puppies or people who spend a lot of the day at work and stuff like that, is to make sure that the toys you're giving your dogs are mentally stimulating. If you give your dog a toy that is mentally stimulating, not only is it going to be fun and rewarding for them, but it's going to wear them out in the process, so that when you get home, your dog isn't as crazy. And also there's less of a chance that your dog is going to go out and find a way to be destructive if they already have something constructive in front of them to do. Some really great examples of toys like this are like Kongs, wobble toys, and any other toys that require them to do like nose work, you know, like where maybe you hide the treats in a thing and they have to find them out of there. Kongs are really great because there's all different kinds of Kongs. You can just put the treats in there, let them roll them around. You can freeze them so that they're solid. It's really great for their crate. Kongs are a great tool. if you have a puppy that, you know, you're just crate training or whatever, Kongs are one of the things that I recommend the most because you can fill them with just about anything that you want. It gives your dog something fun and constructive to do while they're in their crate, and it also wears them out. So one thing that I like to fill my Kongs with is like a mixture of peanut butter, unsweetened applesauce, and pumpkin puree, because all dogs love peanut butter. Applesauce is a lot lower calorie and great for your dogs. And pumpkin is also a lot lower calorie than peanut butter, and it helps make sure that your dog doesn't get any digestive issues, especially if you're feeding them something really rich like peanut butter on a regular basis. Kind of helps them get that balance in there. So those are my best recommendations and stuff like that for food, chews, treats, and toys, and things that you should be giving your dogs and some things that you should not be giving your dogs. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Otherwise, I hope that you take the time to look at some of the other videos, and I wish you the best of luck in all your training. Thanks, guys. Bye.